Let's go up to the Skype wall and talk to Andrew Miller, editor of Cricinfo, is with us now. Andrew, good evening. Welcome to the show. Chris Cohen asked the question of our previous correspondent, how widespread is this in cricket? Have we any idea?
Well, we've got a better idea now than we did, and so some good has come of all this. I mean, the biggest deal now, I think, is really what happens to the other Pakistan players in that team. I mean, Mohammed Amir, very interesting case. Obviously, he pleaded guilty to this, but he pleaded guilty very specifically saying that it was his first offence. The only time he'd ever been involved in match fixing was the Lord's Test. The evidence that's cropped up in the course of the trial kind of rebuts that rather significantly. So he's going to be very much under the scanner. He's got what's called a Newton hearing coming up tomorrow, which basically the judge versus Amir straight up saying, well, actually, I don't believe you. Come on, Sonny, spit it out. So we'll see what comes of that. 4 other matches on that trip are under investigation. And obviously there's that weird one, the Sydney Test in Australia in January when Pakistan managed to lose from an extraordinary position. So, there are all sorts of issues that are suddenly, the can of worms has been prized right open by this one.
If the News of the World hadn't carried out this investigation, were there murmurings or talks throughout cricket fans or people within cricket that they thought this was going on? Or did this first incident come as something of a shock, no matter how widespread this might be?
Well, it was a shock, the circumstances. I mean, nobody saw that coming, especially the weird thing was that Pakistan was so competitive in that series, remember? I mean, Asif and Amir, for all their crimes now proven, they still remain some of the best bowlers in the world. So that was a shock. But, the actual facts of match fixing being prevalent in cricket, no, that wasn't a shock. I mean, Hansi Cronje is 11 years ago now. We've been waiting for this to happen again, really, because really that was meant to create some sort of opening into lifting the lid on corruption. It never really happened.
That comes as a terrible shock to me, what you've just told me there, Andrew. So it didn't come as much of a shock to me, because if you suspected this had been going on for so long, how can any English cricket fan, or in fact any cricket fan anywhere in the world, pay good money at the turnstile to go into, a magnificent cricket stadium and not know whether the game's straight or not that he's going to witness over the next 8 hours?
Yeah, big question, $1 million question. But the one thing I would say, not so much in the Pakistanis' defence, but it's more what Salman Butt said in the proceedings, was that you could tell from the way he was talking about the case that he didn't actually see it as out and out match fixing. You see what I mean? I mean, he saw this spot fixing as obviously a minute details, changing the odd ball here or there for monetary gain, clearly. But one of the matches under the investigation, the Oval Test, Pakistan actually won it because they, regardless of, Butt is alleged to have played out a maiden at some juncture of the game. I mean, whatever. In the final analysis, Pakistan was still good enough to beat England on the day. So, I guess everyone talks about 100% commitment or 110% commitment if you're being a footballer. But, I suspect Pakistan deep down, these guys think, well, 90% commitment will do. 10% will take a small change.
Yeah, so really, was their kind of defence almost, oh no, it wasn't a conspiracy to cheat and change the course of the game. It was just actually to let people know that there was going to be a no ball on that particular over. What's wrong with that, so to speak? Was that their attitude?
Pretty much. I mean, Butt again was likening it to WWF, saying things are rigged beforehand, but the audience still gets a good show, which is extraordinary. That was an awful point, I suppose, if you think about it.
Yeah.
It was a good show they put on that day. I mean, that particular Lord's Test was extraordinary. I remember England put on 300 and something for the 8th wicket to save the game and turn the game on its head.
Exactly.
They were on cosh until then.
What will happen back in Pakistan now? Because, this happened in an English court of law for obvious reasons. It happened on our soil. But surely the Pakistan authorities have got to say now, we have nothing but a corrupt game. How are we going to clean it up?
Well, clean it up. So I think the cleansing process starts with the Pakistan board, to be honest. I mean, I don't think that this, by any means, is the end of the saga. Not least, the players arguably are the least significant in all of this. This is all they're pawns in a wider game. The Asian betting nexus is well known that its tentacles, it's meant to be worth $50 billion or something. small change, 150,000 here and there to influence a few details is small change compared to the returns that these guys can get.
Yeah.
So, this is a way into the deeper problem, but that goes right to the top. I suspect right to the top of Pakistan Cricket Board in many ways, because Pakistan is not the most healthy country at the moment. Let's face it.
I know exactly what you mean, Andrew. I want to thank you very much indeed for your contribution. Massively, full of the sort of knowledge you've acquired over a lifetime of following cricket and a tremendous understanding. Thank you very much indeed. Speak to you again soon on the Sports Night Live Skype wall.